Before we get started with today's interview, just a quick reminder, click the thumbs up, make sure you subscribe and ding the bell so that you don't miss any of the great interviews that we have coming up. Now, on to today's interview. So, welcome back, everybody. Today, my guest is composer Kristen Allred. Her piece is Mists of Kilimanjaro. You can find it in her book, Jungle Beat, available from fine music retailers near you. Welcome, Kristen. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
So this piece has been on the festival's list before. It is a student favorite. I love the wonderful ostinato that starts the left hand. It perfectly paints a picture of a misty morning, a misty mountain morning. And I also really love how you have perfectly given us the opportunity to have a melody that sings out above this ostinato. Talk to us a little bit about what we should be teaching our students when we're teaching Mists of Kilimanjaro.
Well, first you could start out by talking about the title. What is Kilimanjaro? That's the tallest mountain in Africa. You can show them a picture. You can talk. There's a lot of interesting facts about Mount Kilimanjaro you could tell your students about and show them pictures and try to get this image in their head of this really enormous mountain, but these beautiful mists surrounding it and what that would look like and what that might sound like on the piano and how you want this piece to sound like that. This is an opportunity to talk to them about pentatonic scales because this is actually written on a pentatonic scale, but it's not on black notes because that, of course, that would be pretty difficult for a student to read. So you could teach them what a pentatonic scale is on black notes, but how it's the same sound on white notes. And I'm always tying in composition and arranging with my students. And so one of the best ways to get them improvising on the piano is on a pentatonic scale. So you can actually get them to play something really beautiful. If you start out with something in the bass, starting on F, if you play that and have them play anything on the black notes with you, it will sound lovely. And so that's a great way to tie it into composing and arranging and theory, is teaching them about that pentatonic scale. This is kind of a hard piece for bringing out the melody because you have a lot more notes in the left hand than you have in the right hand. That's really pretty tricky. So you've got to have a lot of, once they learn the notes, have some discussion about how to put more weight into that right hand and make the left hand a little bit lighter, so you can bring out that melody. And you can do that just by showing them the difference in sound between or. You really exaggerate it to them, You're like, listen, what's the difference? What am I doing different here? Shaping that melody, I have a lot of dynamics in the music. For shaping that melody, you really need to follow where it grows higher and grows lower. But I am always open to students adding more dynamics. I think you really should encourage them to be, do you like that dynamic there? Do you think it should be something different? Is there more you can add to the piece? And this is one of the tricks of being a composer. How many dynamics do you put in the music? If you make it full of dynamics, you leave no space for the pianist to do any interpretation on their own. If you don't have any dynamics, they think, well, I don't need to put anything. So that's always been something I really struggle with, because I think that you need to have something there, but I would always hope that students would feel like they can add more. That's what you really want as a teacher, right? You want them to be always thinking, how can I make this more musical? And so follow those dynamics, but then what more can you do? What more can you do with shaping those notes? What note should be the loudest of that phrase? What should be the softest? Where are we growing? Where are we coming down? Should I sneak a little retard in somewhere that she didn't write one in? Do it. Yes. What is molto retardando? How much do I use there? And I would just encourage students to try out a few different things, with the end of the piece. It's molto retardando. But that could be so many different things. And I would encourage you to record your students and have them listen to themselves do it a few different ways. What do they like the best, And I also, the end of this piece, I think, is a really good opportunity to teach them some artistry and performing. A lot of times you have the student that will be like, and then they run away off the piano. Like, they all do that naturally, right? They run away to their seat when they're performing. But how long do you need to hold that when you're... And that's a really good opportunity to teach them to hold it and listen. And when they're good and ready, lift the pedal in their hands gently together. So that's a little spot there that you can teach them some artistry. There's some fermatas in the piece, and you can talk about, everyone's going to hold that a little bit differently. And this is where you can have a little bit of an individual say in your piece of how to hold these things and how to do the dynamics. So that's what I would encourage with this piece, really working on musicality.
I love that invitation for students to really listen to what they're doing and to experiment a little bit with the ritardandos, and they're finding their own creative voice in performing this work, almost as a partner to you, the composer. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about Mists of Kilimanjaro?
I think the only other teaching aspect that might help them to learn it is just the pattern that you have at the beginning. You can talk about it's a fifth with a step above it. And you do that on F, but then you do that in other spots in the piece. You go down to C and you have that same exact pattern of a fifth and then a second. And then you go down to B. So you can kind of teach them that hand shape and how you're moving your hand around and it's going to feel the same. You can even go into those with like the primary chords of the piece as well. It comes right... They're just arranged in a different way, right? So you can tie it all into patterns and arranging and composing theory.
Thank you so much for being with us today. My guest has been Kristen Allred. Her piece is Mists of Kilimanjaro. You can find it in her book, Jungle Beat, at local fine music retailers. Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you so much for having me.